Hi everyone, it's Michael, and I know I'm so tardy to the party. I can't believe it's already February 6th, and I still owe you the January orchid collection update. Things have just been super busy with work, so thank you for your patience as I put this together. But having said that, I'm very excited to show you what's going on with a lot of my plants, some very exciting things. Also, last month I showcased that some of my plants potentially have a calcium and magnesium deficiency. I'll link that video below if you haven't seen it. But I have been treating the plants with CalMag, and I really think it's been successful. I'm already seeing a lot of positive momentum from this, and I'll showcase exactly what plants that's happening with. I'm incorporating that at a concentration of 1 teaspoon per gallon as recommended, every watering. But independent of that, I'm doing the exact same thing I was doing last month. So flushing all of the orchid containers once to twice monthly. I am watering in between those orchid flushes with a dilute nutrient solution, and I am misting my plants in the morning. I've also really revised my grow space, and I'm super excited about it. I'll do a separate video to showcase it when it's done. You'll see it in the background a little bit, but I am so much more pleased with this grow environment, and it seems to be really working for my plants. So a couple last minute items. I just want to say thank you to a couple people. Thank you, Jackson Lucas, for recommending this book to me. This illustrated dictionary of orchid genre. This is not a plug or a promotion. I'm just so excited about it because this book is gorgeous. So much great scientific information, and it's literally like pictures and descriptions and care instructions. It's just so amazing. Etymology, it's really, really cool. So thank you so much, Jackson, for recommending this. This is now an essential part of my library. I also want to say a big thank you to Michael McCarthy, who was kind enough to open his home to my Zygonesia cynosia bluebirds. That plant has been struggling in my collection for years and years, and it has just been the bane of my existence, and I didn't want to throw it away because I'm not a cruel person. So he was nice enough to say, give me a chance to rehabilitate that plant. So Michael, I hope it's going great. Keep me posted. So having said all of that, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the plants that have something new, different, and interesting happening this month. All right, my friends, jumping into the collection with number 1. This is my Phalaenopsis Leonhard Happy Star, and just look at it go. This has been in bloom for so long, and I actually think it might continue to bloom off of these little flower spike mittens. That's what I call them. These tiny little buds that can continue to develop after the plant has dropped its original blooms. So I wonder how long this will stay in bloom, but I'm just so pleased to see it continuing to thrive. Now moving on to number 4 in the collection, this is my Uncastelli Everglades Elegance Nancy Lee. And just look how beautiful and proud this flower spike is. It is coming up so nicely under the LED grow light. And I'm just so pleased with how this plant has fared. It's doing really, really well. The one thing I will say is that since I started incorporating regular calcium, magnesium, zinc, it started to discolor here. So I think that this one was fine. This one does not appear to reflect any nutrient deficiency, and I think I might be overdoing it now. So things like this make me want to reevaluate just how much I'm doing. I might cut that amount in half. Now moving on to what is maybe one of the most exciting developments in the entirety of my orchid growing journey. This is number 9 in my collection. This is a Cakey that I took from my mom years ago. And you can see it's still very much a tiny plantlet. And that's because this plant has seen so much mistreatment that it's a miracle it's not dead. Randomly, it produced a flower spike and it bloomed. And look how gorgeous and happy and bright and fun it is. And just like the fact that it's the sister plant to my mom's, it's so exciting and it makes me feel so connected to her. And there's another little bud on the opposite side. Now this one I don't believe will continue to bloom afterwards because if I take you in close to that little mitten that I was talking about, I don't know if you can even tell, but it's kind of dried up. So I don't know if it's too immature of a plant to really support a big display, but its aerial roots are starting to develop. It's rooted very, very well into the container. Oddly, I know this looks like it's sunburned. It's just a maroon colored leaf. My mom's plant looks the exact same and she's had it for years and years and years, and it's very, very healthy. So I'm just excited to see this one mature and develop so I can have a big, beautiful mother plant just like my mother's plant. Now moving on to number 11 in the collection, I love you so much. This is my Psychopassus mendenhalli hildos, and just look how close it is to giving me 3 buds. I'm so excited. This sequential bloomer will stay in bloom for years at a time. It has already been giving me blooms off of these 2, but this one is still in its infancy and developing. So I'm really, really excited to see how this progresses. I can't wait to have a beautiful, robust display of 3 moth blooms. They're just so, so pretty. I think they're so stunning. Now moving on to number 12 in the collection, this is my Phalaenopsis oxalotary prince, and this one has just become quite a consistent bloomer for me. It's funny because I bought this one as a rescue from Home Depot, and even when it first bloomed, I wasn't that wowed by its colors, but now I'm a little bit more enthralled with the coloration. If you look at it, it's almost like the plant is blushing. So it's a canary yellow with just the faintest hint of pink, and it just is, she's just such a dainty lady. She's so pretty, and I've really come to love her and just appreciate how consistently she blooms now. Moving on to number 16 in the collection, look at Big Bertha. And you know what? You know how I know it's time for this plant to be divided? Because it's dividing itself. This just fell right off. I heard a quiet, dull thud in the living room, and it just divided itself. And you can see it's already coming out of dormancy so quickly. Look at all the new growths. Now, of course, the general rule of thumb with catasetums is you don't want to start rewatering until the root growth is at least 2 to 3 inches long. But the plant tells you when it's time to start rewatering, and we're getting close. But I do not want to continue growing this beast. It's already become so unruly and unmanageable, and these are just the canes that are left over. With the leaves, it was just a behemoth. So I'm definitely going to divide this. I'm going to divide this. I'll do a video on it, and then I'm going to upload and just launch my online store. I've been holding off for the longest time for various reasons, but even if the store is incomplete, I just want to launch it so I can get rid of some of these because I just don't want to keep growing this giant plant. I mean, it has been a fun journey though, really interesting to watch. Now moving on to number 19 and number 20. I'm so excited about these. I think they are so cute and posh. I'm obsessed with these containers. I got them off Amazon. I will link them below, but they're just so cool. And I think they may just give my bulbophyllums exactly what they need. So my bulbophyllums both responded very positively to water culture, but the reality is they both need higher humidity all the time, and I just have not been able to give that to them, so they're not super consistent bloomers for me, even though they have both bloomed for me. So obviously with this little egg shape, and it's so cute because the plants are accessible, I can care for them, I can tend to them, I can treat them, but it is just so nice because it sustains a higher ambient humidity, and it doesn't become stagnant because there's this slight little hole up here to allow the air or the water to evaporate. So I'm curious to see how this progresses, but so far so good because I'll take you in on this one, for example. This is my bulbophyllum Ambrosia. Look at the root growth it has produced since being in this container. Here, let me go a little bit lower so you can see. Do you see all of those vigorous new green tips? It really, really appreciates this ambient humidity, and I feel like it's giving it more of what it wants. So I'm so curious to see how this progresses. But I'm always, I don't know, I guess it's my grow style that I just like things that look ornate and dainty. So it's kind of an experimental way to grow, but I think it might go really well. We'll see, fingers crossed. Now moving on to number 25 in the collection. This is my Epidendrum green Hornet, one of my most consistent bloomers. That flower spike is just continuing to give me sequential blooms, and they are so lovely. They are so fun and really quite fragrant too. A lot of people do not like the smell. Every time I invite friends to smell this plant, they're kind of like, ugh, I don't think I like that, Michael. But I don't know, maybe I'm just weird. I don't particularly mind the scent. I think it's like a licorice, peppery scent, but have been told it smells like manure. I disagree. Moving on to number 26. This one is my Mylisara Stellar, and I guess I just wanted to show its intense will to live. I have thought this one is going to die for the longest time, and you can see the pseudobulbs dried back one after the other. This plant has not been doing well for a long time. I converted it to sphagnum moss, and just look at it fight. This plant just insists on maturing, this new growth. So I don't know if 2 mature pseudobulbs that are kind of insignificant and small can save this plant. I don't know if there's enough energy for it to do so, but God knows it's trying. And wow, if that isn't a metaphor for 2020 and 2021, I don't know what is. So I'm rooting for you. I hope you pull out of it. Now moving on to number 33 in the collection. This is my Dendrobium Tangerineum, and the interesting thing about this one is it's producing a little new baby growth. And ordinarily with this plant, the new growths kind of get stunted and sickly. You can see how they've died back here, but it's just now starting after this growth to really get better. And you can see in terms of the size of the new growths as well, it has just gotten slowly but surely healthier, more vigorous root growth. So I think it's on its path to recovery. I'm not sold that this one is good yet, but fingers crossed it seems to be on a good track. Now on to number 46. Look at this beautiful baby. This is my Oncidium Twinkle. It's so cute. It smells so nice. Let's go in closer. Just what a beauty. And the fun thing is, this is just the first flower spike I'm gonna get to enjoy. As these pseudobulbs mature, you can see, do you see those little flower spikes peeking through the edges? A lot of them are producing double flower spikes. So I have a lot more beauty to look forward to from this one. And it's already been in bloom for quite some time. With the new flower spikes and kind of how they have distributed their growth timeline, I think this one will be in bloom for months. Now, a very exciting story for me. I haven't shown this one very much because not a lot has happened with it, but I recently just took it out of an area of bright indirect light and put it directly under the grow light. And I did that, as I often do, in an attempt to really say to the plant, listen, it's time to either grow or die. And this one has chosen not only to grow, but to finally give me a flower spike. So this is my Paphiopedilum makulu Curtis II Maudii crossed with Napa Valley. Gosh, that does not roll off the tongue, does it? But this one it struggled for a very long time. I put it into sphagnum moss because it was just drinking down its water reservoir too quickly, and it never really seemed to like semi-hydroponics, which I think is actually kind of common for Paphiopedilum types. I just don't think it's my preferred method for potting them. But even the sphagnum moss didn't do much to save it until I put it under the grow light, and it just is taking just as much light as maybe my Oncidiums. And you know, before this fan looked a lot like the fan that is currently dying back, the old growth, really, I don't know, washed out, and the mottling had almost completely vanished. And after putting it under the light, it just sprung back to life and produced this beautiful new flower spike. So I'm curious to see how this progresses. And another exciting bloomer for me. Oh my God, I'm so excited about this. This is number 48 in the collection, my Cymbidium murasaki sinense. And wouldn't you know it, it is possible to get a Cymbidium to bloom in semi-hydroponics. Now, I'm not implying that that's the best way to do it because this has been an ongoing struggle, as you can see from this failed flower spike. But I am pleased to discover that it is possible, and it just opened this morning. Look how beautiful it is. Oh, it's so cute. It's like a little cheetah leopard baby. I don't know how to explain it. But what excites me about this is there is a narrative here about something that needed to be changed in the grow environment. Let me tell you my philosophy or my hypothesis. So this one created a flower spike and it aborted. And so I thought, you know, this definitely needs the strict temperature drop that is always outlined in the care instructions for Cymbidiums. That's why a lot of people say that they are exclusively outdoor plants. So it started to create this flower spike and then it aborted. And I convinced myself that that was a product of the temperature. So I took this plant and I put it in the window and it started to produce another flower spike. But this one didn't abort. And at first I convinced myself that that was because of the temperature drop. I put it in the window in San Francisco during the winter. So this one is experiencing more temperature variation. However, it produced this flower spike without temperature variation. It did this exclusively under the LED grow light. And that means that this plant can produce flower spikes, but it aborted mid-growth because what it actually needed, in my opinion, is calcium, magnesium, zinc. I figured out the calcium, magnesium issue with my plants right around the time this was just shy, this new flower spike was just shy about the size of this old flower spike. So I think that had I not incorporated magnesium and calcium at the right time, this flower spike would have aborted it in kind. I don't think it was the temperature variation. I think it was absolutely the nutrient deficiency. So that's just my opinion. And you can see, like, I didn't even save it in time. There were supposed to be 3 to 4 other buds on this beauty, and they started to blast. And it was when I applied the CalMag that the rest of the 3 matured. So I just think that that's kind of fascinating. Jumping back in with number 51 in the collection, these 3 orchids here are my wedding day Phalaenopsis, and as they always do, they are blooming in perfect synergy and perfect unison. I just think that's so charming. I am eventually going to rehome the other 3 that I have. I just, you know, it's just so fun to see them give me this cascade all at the same time because it's such a fun celebration, but I think I'm getting past the point of caring for this many of the same plant. Now moving on to number 60 in the collection. This is my Valara Peggy Ruth Carpenter, and this one is just such a lovely, consistent bloomer for me. And the interesting thing that I wanted to highlight here, you can see that the blooms are just about to drop because they're starting to fade. But what I'm really highlighting here is kind of the difference with this new growth. Since I have been supplementing with calcium and magnesium, the new growth is coming in a lot easier. It's not sticking on itself so much. And as you can see, that was a real problem here. Look at this accordion leaf. You can see that the the leaf kind of got stuck into itself. And the more I read about calcium and magnesium deficiency, the more I see that it can impact plants in so many different ways. It doesn't just have to be the blackening of the tips with the lack of calcium or kind of the splotchiness of the leaves with the lack of magnesium. It can also cause exactly what I'm showing you right here. It can cause plants to stick on themselves. It can cause plants to do all sorts of weird things in their developmental stages because they just don't have the resources they need to build healthy tissue. So I'm curious to observe this over time and see if that kind of remains true and that this will come in more healthy than the others did, but we will see. Now, once again, I got another little egg. I put number 63, my Restrepia cupra inside. So this liked water culture and it bloomed for me in water culture, but it also, the leaves just kept dying back. Like, as you can see, look at them. They got burnt and they got dry. And I just think that I wasn't able to sustain high enough humidity for them. But if I take you in lower, look at the new leaves that are coming in. Look how lush and happy and green they are. They're a little bit smaller, so it needs to gain some more momentum, but it does seem to like this grow setup, but really only time will tell. So far, it looks like it's been successful. And the last one I'm gonna show you is number 67 in the collection. This is my Epidendrum hybrid rose. You can see this one is in water culture and it has just grown so intensely, but clearly something's wrong because there's a lot of splotching on these leaves. And just like I was describing here, there's this thing that started to happen where the leaves would stick into themselves. But I incorporated CalMag and then it produced these new growths, which are starting to get healthier and healthier. And then wouldn't you know it, there's another sequential flower spike on the way, which is so exciting. Because you can see this one's been in bloom. God, I don't even know how long this one has been in bloom. It has just continuously produced new buds for me. And it's gonna continue to do so for I don't know how much longer. They're so darling and delicate too. Look how pretty they are. But I'm hoping that the CalMag really helps to solve this issue and that I see a lot more healing with new growths. And with that, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, as always, for choosing to spend your time with me. If you have any questions or concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. Be sure to support one another in the comment section because I'm so seldom available to do so. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Mwah! Bye, friends.